Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So all of the House races have been called for the midterms. Pretty much every race has been called except Georgia's Senate race, which is going to a runoff. But still, we know that Republicans have 222 seats in the House. Democrats only have 213, but that's a lot more than they were anticipated to hold before the midterm started. Republicans won the generic ballot by 3 percentage points, which was a wider margin than the polls and a lot of people expected in terms of the popular vote, but still, it was very inefficient. Democrats had a very efficient showing that was able to limit their losses, which could have been absolutely catastrophic had Republicans actually gotten their act together. And this is very important that they do this. They need to get their act together because if they don't, they're never going to win an election ever again. But thankfully, they can get their act together. But the reason why Democrats were able to hold a lot of places was because of changes to our electoral system that have taken place over the past few years. Republicans in some areas, this whole election day instead of election month, it's kind of inefficient. Republicans in some places will play the game they're in, like in Florida, like in New York, like in Virginia last year in many places, even in California. In terms of ballot harvesting, they play the game that they're in, but in middle America, where the GOP is extremely incompetent at their turnout operation, they didn't exactly perform as anticipated, which is a major problem, and that's why we have people like John Fetterman going to the United States Senate. So you don't have to like the game. You don't have to like election month, and I don't like election month, but you have to play the game that you're in. And if you don't play the game you're in, you're always going to lose every single time. And this is true. Lee Zeldin had a very good take about this in terms of ballot harvesting, which is the key to Democrat success. It's legal. Republicans could do it. They could take advantage of it. We will rightfully criticize the process, but still criticizing the process, saying, no, you can't do that, and then not doing it for our advantage is going to make us keep losing and losing. And Lee Zeldin said states shouldn't be passing laws to allow ballot harvesting, but wherever states decide to do it anyways, Republicans need to start doing ballot harvesting better than Democrats and make those Democrats deeply regret legalizing ballot harvesting in the first place. And this is true. There are a lot of right-wingers in this country who are not even registered to vote, or they're registered and they don't vote. They feel disaffected by the system. And in order to turn out those voters, Democrats have a lot of it on their side, but their turnout among those voters is higher because they know how to get it done. They know how to go to these voters, make them vote. They know how to actually win. Republicans don't know how to win. They know how to win in Florida. They know how to win in Virginia. They even limited Gavin Newsom's margin of victory to less than 19 points. That was narrower than DeSantis's win in Florida. That was narrower than Mike DeWine's win in Ohio. Both of those states, Florida and Ohio, voted for Obama twice. And still, they voted more to the right than California did to the left this cycle, which is important to note. And keep in mind that DeSantis was going up against a former governor who almost won in the red wave year of 2014. We've always said Florida is immune to waves, and we understand that Charlie Crist this time around didn't run the best campaign. We know that he, if anything, played to lose, but still, that's beside the point. You look at the other races statewide, they were relatively in line with that. Gavin Newsom, on the other hand, he was going up against a sacrificial lamb businessman. And nobody gave him a shot. Brian Dahle, nobody gave him a shot, but he still did better than Elder did in the recall because Republicans actually knew what they were doing. They got their act together, and this is very true. And you want to talk about California, let's go back to the House for a second. Let's look at this House map. Let's put the district map up. There's going to be a decent amount of flips. I don't know if they show the flips. They don't show the flips on the map here. But what we do know is that there were a lot of flips or unexpected holds. A lot of people gave Mike Garcia a chance. He won by 10. David Valadao, he won by 4. Not a lot of people thought he would win that. John Duarte flipped the 13th district out of nowhere. Not a lot of people gave him a chance. This is a district that was Biden plus 10. It was even Hillary plus more than that. But still, these seats were decided after Election Day, just like a lot of the seats that flipped blue in 2018. But because Republicans know how to ballot harvest in California, people like Mike Garcia, many other candidates, they broke by decent margins in terms of these seats. They broke for decent margins for Republicans this year. And we acknowledge the other problems with our electoral system, Arizona, Nevada, etc. We get that. I'm not trying to distract from that. But still, if more Republicans voted early, if we harvested more ballots, it would not have mattered nearly as much what took place on Election Day in Maricopa or in Clark. And in terms of the rural margins, our rural margins were not that good because Democrats did a very good job of harvesting in these rural areas, getting the few rural voters that still vote Democrat to turn out. They did a very good job of it. And in a place like Nevada, Adam Laxalt, if he would have gotten Trump's margins in the rural areas, if he would have gotten those margins, because he did pretty well overall, he did better than Trump in Clark County by a significant margin. He did better a little bit in Washoe, which has moved a little bit to the left, but even these little blue arrows, they all added up to more than the margin of victory, and that's what the difference truly was. So we have to ballot harvest. We have to have our own drop boxes. And where do we do this exactly? And that's a question that people are going to ask, and they should be asking, because we need to know where the voters are. Well, churches are a good example. I mean, plenty of Christians per year, tens of millions of those don't vote. Given the values of the Democrat Party, and we really know what those are, it shouldn't be too hard to harvest ballots there, register voters there, especially in these remote rural areas. Turnout needs to be significantly higher. You look at the non-college educated white turnout, significantly low compared to all other demographics. Even black voters, which used to be harder to reach for Democrats, they're voting at a very high level in terms of their turnout. Rural whites don't exactly do that, and that's a problem. So we have to understand, where else could we put these? Obviously, I mean, golf courses even, some bars in rural areas. You talk about your average normies that may be a little bit center-right culturally. You got to get them voting. You get them on your side. This is true. Community centers, gun shops, gun shows, where the right-wingers are. You got to go where they are. Country music festivals, maybe nursing homes. There's a lot of old people. You don't want to take advantage of them, but still you got to get these people out and voting, and that's what we need to do, or we're not going to win elections in the future, and this is important. And also, maybe we need to do our own busing of voters to the polls in these rural areas where the polling places may be 5-10 minutes away. Go where these voters are, bus them to the polls. Do exactly what Democrats do in the inner cities. And that's pretty much it. And getting these voters to turn out will help Republicans electorally. This is true. If you have a good operation, you are not going to be capable of losing. The Fire Festival of 2020 and 2022 are not exactly going to happen ever again. And people will mention the polls. The polls were off. That's true. And they were off in the direction they're not usually off in. But why were the polls off? Were the polls off because the polls were poorly conducted? Because even some of the most left-wing, even some of the most establishment media firms' polls were pretty much in line with, I guess you would say, the polls that we got from places like Insider Advantage. Trafalgar was vastly off the mark, but in some states they were in line with some of these other major pollsters. So were those polls wrong, or were the mechanics just awful? Did voters not turn out? I mean, in the suburbs nationwide, you saw turnout for the Republicans decent. Even in parts of Pennsylvania, you saw Oz barely outperform Trump in Chester County, but he was supposed to do a lot better than that. And then you look at the rural areas and you see a drop-off of like 10 percentage points to the left. You could say maybe they didn't want to turn out and vote for Oz, but still, if you reach these voters, you tell them the importance, you have people that do it, guess what? They're going to vote, because Fetterman is objectively a worse candidate than Dr. Oz, but guess what? He won because Democrats play to win. And we could talk about certain candidates not being funded, or the fact that the RNC spent more money attacking them in primaries than actually propping them up in the generals. That's a topic for another video. Definitely you want a team player. That's why I think Zeldin should be the RNC chair. He may not be perfect on every issue, but he does know how to win. And if he is a team player, the candidates that are perfect on the issues are going to be receiving a lot more help. And that's really what is important. But the mechanics of 2022 were awful. They don't have to be awful for 2024, but this is a big warning to Republicans. If they keep doing what they're doing, and if they keep treating the election system the way they've been treating the election system, guess what? It's not going to translate very well to a 2024 presidential election victory, and you're going to be stuck with Biden-Harris for 4 more years, and we don't want that to happen. So like I said, election month sucks, but as long as it exists, it's got to be our month, not their month of celebration, whether, oh, we won big, oh, we won, or we limited our losses. No, we need to make it our month. We need to expand our majority in the House in 2024, retake the Senate. It's possible, but not if we keep doing what we're doing right now. If we actually get our act together, get a good operation going, I can't see us losing in 2024. But if we don't, it's going to be very hard to see us winning. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.